is a section of gingiva and or mucosa which is surgically separated from the underlying bone, from the underlying tissue to provide access and visibility to the bone and root for the purpose of debridement. It increases the access to the root deposits, causes the pocket elimination or reduction and exposure of bone for osseous surgery. It is indicated whenever there is a pocket elimination and the treatment of gingival enlargement, resective or reconstructive osseous surgery, aesthetic and mucogingival surgery, treatment of percussion involvement, and pre-prosthetic surgery. They are classified according to as per thickness of bone exposure, full thickness or partial thickness flap. As per the placement of flap after surgery, it can be non-displaced or displaced. As per the management of papilla, it can be conventional or papilla preservation. So moving on to the mucoperiosteal flap, here you can see the incision is given and the gingiva as well as periosteum is reflected and the exposure of underlying bone is achieved, which is indicated in pocket reduction and osseous surgery. Whereas partial thickness flap is also called as a mucosal flap, where you can see that part of the gingiva and the connective tissue is reflected and it is covered with the periosteum and indicated when there is a marginal bone is thin and there is a flap displacement. Whereas non-displaced flap, it is returned to the original position on suturing. So vertical incisions are not necessary or not required. Examples are modified Widman flap, undisplaced flap and palatal flaps. The displaced flap, you have to give the vertical incision because we need to return it to the original position, which extends beyond the mucogingival junction. Displacement is done in 3 directions like apically, coronally and laterally, and it is indicated for mucogingival surgery. Whereas conventional flap is also called as the split papilla flap. You can see in the picture the papilla is separated or split into the buccal and the lingual part, and both the flaps are reflected. This is usually done in whenever there is an interdental space is narrow and the flap is displaced. The type of flaps are modified Widman and apically displaced flap. The papilla preservation flap, so you can include the papilla either into the buccal or the lingual flap, but this flap cannot be displaced. So it is used whenever there is an interdental area is broad, there is a conservation of papilla for aesthetics and for regenerative surgery, especially this papilla preservation flap is preferred. So indications in incisions in flap surgery are classified as horizontal and vertical incision. This horizontal incision is given along the gingival margin in mesiodistal direction. They are of 3 types: internal bevel, clavicular and interdental incision, whereas vertical incisions are used for the flap displacement and for increased access. This is the first incision, that is the internal bevel incision, given 2 to 3 millimeter from the gingival margin, aimed at the crest of the alveolar bone along with the number 15 and 11 number blade. It removes the pocket lining, conserves the uninvolved outer gingiva, produces the sharp and the thin flap margin and places the connective tissue close to the root. Whereas second incision, which is given from the base of the sulcus to the crest of the bone, and it forms the V-shaped wedge of the tissue which contains the infected granulation tissue, junctional epithelium and supracrestal fibers. The third incision is given in the labiolingual direction, interdentally at the alveolar crest. It removes the infectious tissue and it is either given with the Orban's knife or with the number 11 number blade. The vertical incisions are the oblique religion incisions. It depends upon the flap design and purpose, can be given either on one or both the side of the flap. The flap without the vertical incision is called as an envelope incision. The areas of incisions are, it is at the line angle of the papilla, never on the mid papillary or the radicular surface, and you should avoid on the lingual and the palatal side. What are the different types of flap techniques? The flap for pocket reduction or elimination, we have modified Widman flap, undisplaced flap, palatal flap or distomolar flap. For regenerative surgery, papilla preservation flap and conventional flap. And flap for the mucogingival surgery, they are classified as apically displaced, coronally displaced and laterally displaced. So modified Widman flap, basically it removes the pocket lining and allows the instrumentation. It reduces the pocket by shrinkage, permits the good gingival contouring and allows the connective tissue to contact the root surface. Whereas undisplaced flap is basically eliminates the pocket by resection, because here we are completely removing the pocket wall and it allows the instrumentation. Apically displaced flap eliminates the pocket by displacement. It increases the width of attached gingiva and it conserves the gingival tissue. So there are the different locations of internal bevel incisions given in modified Widman flap. It is given 2 to 3 millimeter apical to the gingival margin, directed at the alveolar crest. Whereas in undisplaced flap, you have to give it at the base of the pocket because you have already marked the pocket and you want to completely remove the pocket wall. So it is directed apical to the alveolar crest. Whereas apically displaced flap is given as close to the gingival margin, that is 0.5 to 1 millimeter away from the margin, directed at the alveolar crest, and vertical incisions are mandatory because you are going to displace this flap. The palatal flap, the surgical approach differs here because of its unique character of the palatal tissue. The entire tissue is attached to the bone. It is fully keratinized, cannot be displaced or split. The tissue may be thick or thin. Palatal vault may be high or low. There can be presence of vessels and nerves, so you have to be very careful when you take the palatal flap, and no aesthetic considerations are there in palatal flap. So distal molar surgery, here the incision depends upon the amount of attached gingiva, pocket depth and the accessibility. At the same time, you have to see the distance from the tooth end to the tuberosity and the retromolar area, how much amount of the tissue is available. So in maxillary molar region, it is simpler than mandibular because of the wide zone of attached gingiva, whereas in mandibular molar region, it is more difficult than maxillary due to the lack of attached gingiva, and it needs modification of initial incision depending upon the attached gingiva. So these are the different suture materials. Why you need to do the suturing? To maintain the flap in the desired position till healing. Different types of suture materials are available like non-absorbable, absorbable and synthetic. The importance of suturing, yes, we need to suture after flap so that it will hold the tissue and it will heal by the primary intention. So they are classified as independent. So in that we have incidental, that is direct simple loop suture or figure of 8 suture. Sling ligation, when you reflect only one side of the flap, you can go for sling ligation. Then you have anchor suture, close anchor suture in the distal molar surgery, you can use that. Then also the matrix suture, horizontal or vertical, and the periosseal suture normally used for apically displaced flap. Then there is also continuous independent sling ligation where you need to separate the buccal and the lingual flap. So moving on to the resective osseous surgery, by definition, this is a procedure by which you can change in the alveolar bone or accomplish to rid it of the deformities which is induced by the periodontal disease. There are two types, additive, that is reconstructive, or the subtractive, that is resective. So these are the different terminologies you must know. Again, the Viva question. Osteoplasty basically is the reshaping of the bone without removal of the tooth supporting bone, whereas ostectomy is the reshaping of the bone by removal of the tooth supporting bone. These are the different architectures you need to know: ideal, positive, negative and flat. So in ideal architecture, the proximal bone is coronal to the radicular bone and at the similar interdental height along with the gradual slope between the interdental peaks. Whereas positive is same as that of ideal, but in positive there may be interdental bone loss, but still the proximal bone is coronal to the radicular bone. The negative or the reverse architecture where the proximal bone is apical to the radicular bone, and in flat you can see that the proximal bone is at the same level as that of the radicular bone. These are the few instruments are used for resective osseous surgery: hand instruments, rotary instruments, hand instruments like rongers, files, chisels. The slow and the high speed burrs are used in rotary. These are the different steps, 4 steps. Again, the question for SAQ and Viva. Name the different techniques. This vertical growing and the radicular blending, these are the first 2 steps which involve the osteoplastic procedure, whereas the flattening of the interproximal bone and the gradualizing of the marginal bone, these 2 are the ostectomy procedures. The first is vertical growing. It reduces the thickness of alveolar housing and it also provides a continuity from the interproximal to the radicular surface, indicated whenever there is a thick bony margins and the shallow osseous craters and class 1 and class 1 percussion involvements, and contraindicated whenever there is a thin alveolar housing and close root proximity so that it can damage the roots. Whereas the radicular blending is the extension of vertical growing. It will gradualize the bone over the radicular surface. The indications and contraindications are same as that of vertical growing. Moving on to the flattening of the interproximal bone, it allows a uniform level of the interdental bone. Indications, it is indicated in one wall interproximal defect, combined 1, 2 or 3 wall defects, and contraindicated in craters, flat interproximal defects and advanced bony lesions. Whereas gradualizing the marginal bone is the fourth step. It provides the sound regular base for the placement of the flap, and it also reduces the bony discrepancies at line angles, which is called as a widow's peak. The instruments used are hand instruments are preferred than the rotary instruments. These are the specific conditions where we need to do. The first thing is ramping, so which is adjacent to the one wall defect. So you can just reshape that by doing osteoplasty and just get the smooth slope. Whereas craters are also can be taken care by shaping the buccal, lingual or both the sides of the bone and then make it smooth. And exostosis also by using the all four steps you can get the normal physiologic contour. Moving on to the regenerative surgical technique, it is classified as non-graft associated, graft associated and combined technique. In non-graft associated, we have removal of epithelium, prevention of epithelial migration, which can be achieved by GTR, root conditioning, growth factors, and whereas graft associated are autograft, allograft, xenograft, and alloplast. The prevention of epithelial migration can be achieved by GTR. So here we are basically putting a membrane between the flap and the bone, and we are allowing the selective repopulation of the cells from the periodontal ligament, so which will help into the new generation, regeneration and the new attachment. They are classified as non-resorbable polytetrafluoroethylene membrane or resorbable like polygalactylene membranes. The biomodification of root can be achieved by using the different materials like citric acid, fibronectin, tetracycline, which allows the changes in the root surface wall of periodontal pocket. Also, it removes the smear layer of microcrystalline debris. It exposes the dentinal tubules, making them wider. It eliminates the endotoxin and bacteria from the root surface, and it also exposes the collagen fibers, preventing the epithelial migration. These are some growth factors which are available in the market. They are released by the inflamed areas, and also it regulates in wound healing, like platelet-derived growth factor, insulin-like growth factor, and basic fibroblast growth factor. Then Emdogain, which is commercially available in the market, which helps into the regeneration. These are basically enamel matrix proteins like amylogenin, which are secreted by Hertwig's